Hi, this is Dan Cortopassi of TSG Multimedia. Today I'm reviewing an HO scale Southern Pacific GS4 class 484 locomotive from Broadway Limited. This model is decorated as Southern Pacific 4449 and would look really good in excursion service on a modern layout. This model has Southern Pacific on the tender and not Southern Pacific lines, so it would also serve well on a Southern Pacific post-war era steam layout. This is an older production run and I wasn't able to find an official MSRP, but the box that the model came in has a price marked of $449.99. The model has good detail overall, including a lot of freestanding parts and good plumbing down where the running gear is. I was a little disappointed in the paint. The orange seems a bit dull, and there's also a kind of a rough separation line between the orange and the black in the walkway area. All of the markings are legible, including the builder's plates, which are readable with magnification. The tender has pretty good detail also. Again, I was a little disappointed in the paint. There's a little bit of a shadow effect on some of the red. It almost looks like the stripes have a drop shadow. It really shouldn't be like that. The model has pretty good end detail. I like that it has a working coupler, although the front coupler is way too high according to the Katy coupler height gauge. The model has uncoupling levers and freestanding grab irons. Also has the SP air horn, which is a nice thing. One thing that they got wrong are the number boards, which are flush on the nose, and they really should stick out a little bit. The back of the tender also includes a lot of good detail and freestanding parts. The coupler on the back of the tender was mounted at the correct height. The model has good detail on the top. It has a separate whistle and separate dynamos. One thing I noticed is that the side number boards are mounted a little bit back. In recent years, 4449 has had the side number boards mounted up by the smokestack. The tender has good hatch detail and freestanding railings. The model is set up to pick up electricity from the main drivers. The model is not equipped with traction tires. One of the wheel sets on the pilot truck is narrow in gauge according to the NMRA standards gauge. The main drivers are all in gauge, however the flanges seem a bit wide and wouldn't fit into the NMRA standards gauge, so they probably aren't RP25. All of the wheels in the tender are in gauge according to the NMRA standards gauge. The tender also has speaker openings on the bottom, and you can see there's 2 speakers in there. The tender picks up electricity from only one side on each truck. The tender and locomotive have a fairly conventional drawbar arrangement to connect them. There's also a plug on the tender which fits in a socket on the locomotive. The socket is very recessed, however, and I found it's quite difficult to get the plug to seat in there. On the back of the locomotive, this little piece raises and lowers. And this hatch on the top slides front to back. The model is equipped with Broadway's Paragon 2 sound system. I'm running it on DCC. The whistle's on the 2 key like you would expect. Bell's on the 1. One thing I thought was a bit odd is the Mars light is on F23. I'm not sure why they put it in such a high number. The locomotive by itself weighs 27.3 ounces. The tender weighs 13.3 ounces. I wasn't able to do my normal force gauge test because every time the locomotive encounters the resistance of the force gauge, it seems to disengage the drive. So I don't know if that's some kind of built-in safety feature, but in any case, I wasn't able to give it a force test. There's a slight jerkiness in the mechanism. I'm not sure if that's something that could be fixed with CV settings. The starting and stopping also seems a bit abrupt. There are also a number of other sounds that you can activate with the function keys on the DCC controller. The engine is also equipped with a smoke unit, which is activated with the F7 key. The chuffs are timed with the audio chuffs and the drivers. So I've turned on the Mars light, and the headlight is on dim when the locomotive is still, and then when it starts moving, it goes brighter. The headlights do have a bit of a bluish or purplish cast to them. The tender light works the same way. It's dim when the locomotive is stopped, and then gets brighter when it starts to move. The tender light has a better yellowish cast to it. Overall, I have mixed feelings about this model. I'm a Southern Pacific fan, so having a model of 4449 is cool. However, the overall impression of quality that I get from this model just isn't up to the price level. Especially when I was trying to run it and do my force gauge test, or even just running it without the force gauge, the drive would seem to slip or disengage, and the locomotive wouldn't run, but it would make noise as if it was running, and then it would start to run again and then stop running, and it was very intermittent. So I'm going to take a spike off for that, because an engine that doesn't run isn't doing its basic job. I'm going to take a spike off for the coupler height in front, even though I like the fact that it has a working coupler. I'm going to take a spike off for one of the wheel sets being out of gauge. And I'm also going to take a spike off for the paint flaws and the incorrect number boards on the nose. So my final verdict is 6 out of 10 spikes. If you or your company make a product that you'd like us to review, please drop us a line at reviews@tsgmultimedia.com.